All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening to our friends who are joining us from the other side of the world. Imani is having some issue with her sound. Okay. But we want to get started while she tries to figure out what's going on with her sound. So today is the third session of sorry, I'm getting some feedback. Okay, so today is the sorry guys, I'm getting feedback.
So this immediately I just
Don't I get I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Technical difficulties today. Let me try. Okay, it seems to be okay now. Today is the third session in our 6-week series. We'll do a quick review of where we've started and what we've done so far, and then we'll continue with our lesson plans and discussions for today. I'm going to share my screen. It seems like everyone's having trouble with their connections today. Imani, nothing yet. I don't know what's going on. I see your lips moving, but just not. All right, so we started 3 weeks ago in our ABCs of Wealth series, and we began with our initial goals, which everyone did at the beginning. Hopefully I know that created some deep thoughts in some of our participants, which that was the intent of the initial goals to do that. And then we reviewed the different scriptures from different religions, and we saw that there is a strong connection between our spirituality and finances. We looked at our human treasures, our human characteristics, and hopefully we were able to, and I think everyone has been able to make some connection between their personal character traits that we're all born with rich, and how we can manage not only our finances, but our relationships in the community, our businesses, our children, and everything. It's really dependent on how well we develop these human characters, these virtues, as we call them, the treasures. Last week, we went into our first character trait, patience. We learned to set small goals, material goals, spiritual goals, educational goals, different type of goals that we may have in life. And as we talk about it, the rest of the program is going to concentrate on how we achieve these goals. Setting goals is one thing, but then also being able to track them, make sure we are on progress, make sure we are making progress through achieving those goals, because often we get distracted. We set goals, we forget what they are, or we set up another goals and we forget that we need to work on the same ones. Whether they are individual goals, their family or business goals, and then ultimately, I'm just going to go there so we can review that table. Ultimately leaving a legacy behind, because going back to the scriptures, it is our finances does not start let's say at age 16 or 18 or even 20. Our financial affairs and education starts from the time of conception in the mother's womb, the example that's set there, and then it really continues beyond this life for those that believe that we have a soul and our spirit will continue to live. So that's why it's so important to leave a legacy behind, and we'll talk more about it today. Then last week, we also began to look at how do we keep track of our various types of activities. whether it's our time management, whether it's our money, and so forth. And just being able, because our brain is not capable of doing these in our head. We need to write them down somewhere, whether it's a piece of paper, spreadsheet, an app, something. It needs to be written down somewhere. So that's where we and then we gave the dreadful assignment of starting your annual budget. And I'm very happy that the 3 individuals, I think we have the 3 that have actually completed all the assignments. They are the hardcore participants. So Lucretia, Mills, and Christian, you guys are the only ones that have completed all the assignments so far. So great job to you guys. All 3 of you created your budget sheet. I hope it wasn't that difficult. I didn't get any question from you guys on that. So it seems like that was, it's doable. So let's start with this. It's a small group today. I'm not sure who else. Transference from India sent me a message that she wasn't feeling well. So she may or may not be able to attend. She's also been attending on a regular basis. And then we'll see if anybody else attends. So we may not even do a breakout session today since we only have 3 participants. So I want to open it up to the 3 of you and see what are your thoughts. What was your experience? Did you find this annual budget that I know all 3 of you created? Did it reveal anything to you? Did you, just by doing that, did you learn anything new from your finances? So whoever is brave enough to start the conversation. Mills, Christian, Lucretia?
Christian here.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Christian, and then Lucretia.
Okay. I think there are 2 aspects of the budgeting. What I found particularly eye-opening was the budgeting of my time. That one, and I found that when I looked at it, it looked like I still had time to use, and I was like, but I never have this time. So I think for me it was a bit of an eye-opener. The budgeting I did financially was equally good. I usually do that monthly. So I think the rigor here was perhaps having it done, the review done more regularly than that. In terms of the gaps, I think for me, there's need to just see how to build up more income. Yeah, but thank you.
Okay, all right, very good. Did you find any things like when you did your budget? This is something that we often do. We know that there are certain things that are fixed every month, like our rent, let's say our mobile phone. I think I'm not sure how it is in Uganda and Ghana, but here in the US, like our mobile phone is a fixed amount every month. When you put them all together, did you find that it was more than your expenses were more than what you thought they were, or were they aligned? What was the
for me those items were aligned. They were okay.
They're aligned. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. So we'll continue talking about it. All right. Thank you, Chris. Lucretia.
Okay. So I'll start with the time budget. So with the time budget, I realized that there were a lot of free hours. So I began to think, okay, but I have some tasks to accomplish that I end up not doing. So like the time is too small, I don't get enough time and all that. So it threw more light that there's actually enough hours for me. I just need to know when to schedule and everything. So it really made me think critically about my hours, the number of hours I use for everything. So I think that was good because I've seen a difference ever since I did that. And for the financial budget, it just drew my attention on the kind of things that I spend, how much I spend and everything. For the mobile phone, we don't have a fixed contract like that of the US. I did it as airtime, like you have credit, calling credit and everything. Then it drew my attention, okay, how much money am I spending on it? How much money is going away? And how do I use it? Because if I'm budgeting this amount of money for this particular thing, then do I go overboard and everything? So it really made me know how I actually use a lot of things. And he also, I don't know, I think I was able to draw a connection between the financial budget and the time budget, because I realized that if I was spending so much money on the internet, it means I was spending so much time probably on social media.
Okay.
Exactly. So like it helped me draw this connection that, okay, if I'm spending more time, it means I have to cut it and then use that time to do something beneficial or something more useful to me. So yeah, that was my part.
Okay, well, that's very interesting what you're saying, because like I said, we don't see that here in the US. Our internet and our phone, I'm pretty sure that for everyone, it's a fixed amount that we pay every month, and then we get unlimited. Our phone is unlimited, whether it's for voice, text, or data, and then also the internet that we have. So like for us, we have we have both data on our phones, and also we have internet at home, then both of them are unlimited. So we really never see, but that's a good thing that Lucretia mentioned, that yes, as you notice that as you spend more time on social media, because I believe your internet is per use, you pay per use. You see that, oh, if I spend too much time on social media, then that means that I'm spending too much money in there. So that's very interesting. Okay. All right. Transference, great to have you here. We're a small group today. So we are reviewing the time management and the budget sheet from last week that we asked everyone to do. So that's what we're going over. Christian already shared his experience with the time management and his budget, and so did Lucretia. Mills, any thought from you since you did your financial budget sheet?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead, please.
like some of my time budgets were like fixed, like the spiritual and other stuff. But you see that I don't allocate time for certain activities in the time budget. And also I spend much time on social media than any other activities on my free time list.
Okay, all right, very good. So, and we have seen this from everyone, almost every adult that we work with. And when they do this exercise, and this is really these two, the time management and the financial budget, is really the practice of everything that we're going to learn. Because as we mentioned last week, some of the items we do it once, and then we may need to look at it from time to time. For example, our goals. We do that, and then we look at it from time to time. Our time management, sometimes it's good. I don't do my time management, which I should, because often I have realized that I do spend extra time on things. But I know that has been, the time management has been very helpful for a lot of people that they want to do everything. We did have one participant from South Africa. It was there were a family, a couple with 4 children. And the lady, she wanted to do so much with 4 small children. And she kept saying that, Alex, I want to do this. I want to start this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I told her that, please, you need to look at your time. And she was, I believe, when we were chatting on WhatsApp, I would notice that she's up like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, almost every day. And I asked her, it's like, why are you up so late? And she says, well, during the day, I have to take care of my family and children and husband and everything else in the business. And then this is 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when I have time to attend to other stuff. And I told her that it's really not healthy. So you should not be taking any new things. So really the time management for her was very helpful. I actually had her do her time management on for a whole week on hourly basis. And it was like crazy, the amount of time that she was up like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning doing stuff. So sometimes it does take, and that's why our brain is not capable of managing our time in our head, and neither is it can do the our financial stuff on it. Mills, did you have your hand up? I saw your hand up, Bill and Dan. Did you want to add something?
No, please, it was a mistake.
Oh, okay, all right. Imani, can we hear you? Nope, not yet. I still cannot hear. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. All right, so now that you have done a great job of creating your budget, I'm just gonna do the review here. So this is what most of you have done. I'm gonna delete the actuals. So now that you have created your annual budget, now the more difficult task is every month coming in and writing down at your actual expenses, or even your time management. So as we talked last week, it's best to set up a time, maybe no later than the 15th of the following month. So you can set that up. And if you want, I would be more than happy to send you reminders, because we can see you. This is one of the things that we do. Even after our series, our 6-week series is done, I'll be more than happy to just help you. Every month on the 10th or on the 15th, I will send you a reminder. It's like, Lucretia, you're supposed to put in all your actual expenses, because that is when we see and we begin to really see the trend of how much we are actually spending. So again, job might be variable, let's say 600. So by June 15th, you should come back and write down your actual numbers in here. Your rent, if you have, it's probably fixed. But then like supermarkets could go up and down. And not only the sheet will tell you how you're doing, but it also begin to the building the numbers to kind of get a system going. Just let me read. Imani says, I'm locked out of audio. I asked for a password. Okay, all right. So she's having some issue with her computer trying to log in. The other thing that this budget sheet does is, especially for those that don't have fixed income. So if you have income from your own business that goes up and down, or this past 2 years that we saw what happened with COVID, that all of a sudden most of us lost our income, then we can easily go back and see, well, where do I need to cut my expenses? Because now that I have less income, I can easily adjust my income in here, and then also look and see where can I cut back from some of the unnecessary expenses. So for example, travel is something that it's usually, it's a luxury, it's unnecessary. Entertainment, it could be the same. Eating out, not totally cutting it out, but just it gives us the overview of how we need to change our habits to make sure that we accommodate for any change of income. And then also the other way, when our income goes up, we can relax a little bit and see where we can maybe take a little travel or do something. So please continue working on this. We will also work with you directly in there as well. All right, the next topic that we're going to talk about. So this one, we looked at our income, whether it's from active income, and active income is from sources such as employment. If we have to get up or go somewhere, or even get behind the computer to do our work to get paid, that is considered an active income. Whether we are an employee, we have our own small business, or we have a little larger business with other people working for us, that's considered an active income. Then we have our passive income, which usually comes from investments. So in here we have our income and then expenses. And then also what we need to continue to track is our assets and liabilities. Assets are things that we own, we have. It can be cash, it can be a real estate, it can be a rental property. Some of the assets may be generating income, and some of the assets may not be income generating. So that is these categories. But it is also important to at least once every quarter, once every 3 months, to look at our assets what we have, and then also look at what our liabilities, what kind of loans do we have? What do we owe to other people? Imani, I heard the feedback. You have to unmute one of your devices.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'm on my phone and in front of my computer.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right, cool. So you finally got it.
Yes.
All right. I will continue. Let me just finish this up and then I'll turn it over to you. We'll see where we go. Okay.
Okay.
So I won't lose my train of thought. Okay. So let's from our audience, please just unmute. Like I said, we won't have a breakout session today since there's a small group. What type of income generating asset do you have? Any kind of income generating asset already? Anybody wants to unmute themselves and share? Or have you thought about acquiring any type of income generating asset?
I'm thinking of going to Treasury Bill,
Okay, all right.
and then maybe in the far future rental property.
Okay, all right. So let's say the treasury bills, and then we can just do it. How much do you think you might be putting into a treasury bill? Do you have any ideas? Have you thought about it?
Maybe 100 CDs a month.
Okay, 100 a month. So let's say in the first month you would put 100 in there. Do you know what's the percentage that it will be returning to you? Would it be returning on monthly basis, on 6 months, on 3 months? Do you have any idea?
I think it depends on the number of months or years you do it.
Okay, all right.
So probably like if you're doing for like a year, let's say like 15%. I'm not so sure though.
Okay, all right, okay, that's very good. So that is good. It's like you looking at, you're already thinking about acquiring a income generating asset that you need to do some investigation, see what it might be, what the return might be. So if we are and 15%, at least here in US, if they say the return is 15%, that is for the whole year. It's not every month, but it could be different in Ghana or other countries. But let's say if we think that we put in 100 and then we're expecting to get 15% back, and I'm just going to do it on a monthly basis. So it's not much, but it is something to start with. At least it's, let's say, 125 to start per month. And this will be feeding into our annual budget. So the whole thing that we have right now, it's not linked, but whatever we start to acquire as an investment and the income that will begin to generate, it will it will come into here. Because this one, let's say, for example, a treasury bill, it's something that we don't do anything. We buy and it just sits there and then gives us some return. Other thoughts on income generating assets from anyone else? Any examples, or anybody's thinking of acquiring or creating? You can even create. Imani, what about you? Have you thought about, I know you shared something, have you thought about acquiring a income generating asset?
Yes, we've been thinking about a lot of things. For one, we've been dabbling in the crashing market, so that was a bust, but we're just that's our future in passive income. It doesn't seem like it's too much passive about playing in the market. It's a little nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. But what my family and I were doing, we really want to purchase another home for the family. Okay. And we're looking at the original, as far as like income, just everyone's kind of taking advantage of the, the equity, mm-hmm. which is, income, giving us the ability to buy another home, or even use the money. However, so it's not, I guess it's not really, passive income,
Mhm.
but it is a way of creating wealth, really.
Okay.
Is ownership. So we're kind of working on that, and we're excited because the first home is pretty much paid off. I mean, it's down to the thousands, and so it's like a great opportunity. Just figure, but at the same time, now we have this crazy interest rate, and also the lack of housing. We're paying more for what it's kind of really worth because of everything that's happening. But as far as my actual business, passive,
Uh-huh.
I would say selling products, connecting to my salon. But our first step is definitely making the investment in the housing.
Okay, all right. And that's one of the ones that at least my wife and I really favor. We were lucky that we got into the housing market starting in 2011 and 2012, which was after the last market crash. It was a good time. We had some cash. Yes, we had recently sold the business. We had some cash, and we were able to get in. And as Imani was talking about, it has had two sets of income. Some of the are asset generating, are income generating assets. Some of them have only one set of income, which is, let's say, when we buy treasury bills, their value does not go up. The value stays the same. So if you put in 100, it will be 100, but it will give you some like interest back. But then when we purchase a property, whether it's something that we live in or something that we rent out to other people, not only it generates income on a monthly basis, and of course it has expenses too, but then also it can go up in value. And that's what we would record in here. So let's say if I were to buy a property for 10,000, let's do that. And then it has a 5% return. So I do the calculation. So it's going to give me some monthly income, and it's fairly low, but it's a start. So for this one, and then well, not next month, but maybe 6 months, or even like maybe a year from now, when we look at the value of that property probably has gone up a little bit. Maybe it has gone up to 12,000. So that's how we begin to build assets, and we can monitor it. Maybe even the rent that we collect from the place will go up. All right, so that is on the income generating assets. That is a long-term journey, but it absolutely feeds into our scheme in here. If you remember in patience, we did talk about that in our childhood years, we concentrate on getting education. By age 15, 16, maybe a little bit of experience, doing small jobs, and then earning some money. But then in our working years, that is when we start with active income. And then, but our goal is to, by the end of our active years, we are relying 100% on our passive income because our body just cannot continue to work physically. So Imani, let me ask you this. Besides acquiring income generating assets, what else do we need to do to make sure that we retire, if you want to call it retirement or the next stage, comfortably? There's enough money to keep us going. What other elements do we need to put in place?
Well, definitely in our job, take advantage. You know, if we're working and our job has retirement, like a matching program, either like a 401k or what I love about what's happening now in California, whether you're a small business, nonprofit, corporation, there's a investment pool that you can participate in just for living in California. And what's great about that retirement is you can transfer it because you have it because you're in California. It's not tied to your job. and you can keep putting in there, and it's tax-free at this point, where they're not taking out any taxes. It's not affecting, you know, your annual income. It's literally your retirement for your future. So I really, I think everyone who is working for someone full time, and if that organization has a investment program, definitely participate in. I was watching a video today, and it was just talking about how, yeah, you can be really great at this, that, and the other, but if you're not consistent, it doesn't really matter. So one thing about investing for the future, it's not that you have to put so much in, it's about being consistent and not missing any payments. Because that's the sad part. If you're in a company that's tied to the company, and you might have, well, you don't really have issues. You can always cash out. But what I just love about our possible program, it's done by the state of California, and you can play with it as far as getting into all the different investments that they have. Or they'll just kind of set you up with something basic so that you are at least accumulating some form of interest and some form of gain on the investment, in the sense that it could be all different types of investments. So it's more like a mutual fund. Another thing which I haven't done, which is I'm almost embarrassed to admit, but I know here a Roth IRA is very important. It is very important. Well, it's an easy way to invest in the future. And it's because of the compounding interest. It's not just the little bit of money every month. And it's also not just one investment. It is in a body of investments. So you have, it's definitely long-term. We're not retiring, next year. It's going to be for years. And it's something that we don't have to try and work on. We just simply keep being consistent and putting the money in. So I would definitely say, which I don't know, we're all around the world in this meeting. So you would definitely have to check in your own area about your city or state that has some type of retirement program. But definitely check your job. And then, like I stated, with the Roth IRA account, definitely check with your bank. If you have a bank and you're really familiar with the tellers and different things and have a relationship, it's really good to just sign up and talk to one of the investment counselors to maybe set you up or talk through. Definitely, if you have an uncle, a cousin, a friend, and you see their success, definitely take the time to talk to them about, what are they doing with their retirement? What's the best way? And definitely talk to someone that's doing it and not the naysayer that's not doing it.
Okay. All right, very good. So those are some technical aspects. Thank you so much for sharing those, Imani. I put it in the chat, and please go ahead and unmute yourself. Again, we're not going to do a breakout. I know Christian is having a little bit of challenge with his network. But what other, and I'm looking at, let me be a little bit more specific for the team, for the group. What other character traits, treasures, what are the things that we can do to prepare us for the time of retirement and building these assets? Because we do see, if I go back into our annual budget, we've already budgeted everything for just about every item in our life. And then I think I have all the way at the bottom, we have sharing, investing, and saving here. But often there's nothing left and when we put it down here. So how can we make sure that there is some money left? What characteristics do we need to develop to make sure that there's something is left so we can save, and then it can be transferred into our assets, whether income generating or not? So please go ahead and unmute yourself, whoever would like to share. Patricia, Mills, Crampray, any of you guys. What are you guys doing to make sure that, especially at a young age, there is something left for our next thing. If nobody's brave enough to share. Everybody's quiet. All right. So whenever you feel like it, please go ahead. One thing that I have in mind, and it's been really helpful in our family, is to always being, let me go back to our list of human treasures, is this one character trait. Well, it's not, contentment is not a character trait. We don't have it in yet. But the self-discipline or being content. So our human nature is that we want things. We see things, especially now these days that we don't even have to go to the store. We are on social media, we are on Facebook, and as we are watching or we are on YouTube watching stuff, there's always stuff popping up. So the media is constantly bombarding us with things that our human nature says we want. New shoes, new clothing, new car, a bigger place to live in. So we are being constantly bombarded by these. And when we do have some extra fun at the end of the month, or maybe even at the end of the year, we are very tempted to purchase those. Or I can really go back to the example of when we, in 2011, the company that I was involved in, it was sold and we got a large sum of money. And a lot of our friends congratulated us that, oh, this is great. Your company was successful. Now you can buy a new home, you can buy a new car. And my wife and I sat together and we decided not to change our lifestyle even a bit. We decided to continue, but invest 100% of the money that we had received from the sale of the company into real estate. And I'm so glad we did, because it did mean that we did not buy something new. For some people, that would be like missing out. But for us, it was a blessing because it took about, we started in 2011, so it took about 5 years for us to become financially independent. So since 2016, neither my wife and I, we don't have to get up in the morning and work to make sure that we have food on our table or we have money to pay for our house and for our expenses. So that has been a blessing. And I can really attribute that to the fact that we decided not to spend any of the money that we received from the sale of the company on purchasing items, things that we would enjoy for maybe some short time and then we'll get tired of it. But since then, we have been able to allocate our time during this program. That's what we've been focused on. So we really like to hear from the friends here. What are your thoughts? Come on, guys, you have to participate in the workshop. What sacrifices have you made? What things have you delayed? The delayed gratification, the self-discipline. You delayed your gratification for something that you know you're going to reach even further. We would love to hear it.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Niels, and then Lucretia.
Christian here. Christian here.
Yes,
I think when I look back, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Christian, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So when I look back, some of the things I can recognize. I know that I started a company a couple of years back. And so one of the decisions I made was to keep saving up money to support the company to grow. So it's a very hard thing to not to just keep away from buying the usual items. But that said, I mean, I think I got to a point where it can also be fatiguing if a company is not returning as much very quickly. So yes, I've had a bit of both. The consistency is very important, like has been shared. It can be a challenge though, but it's a good thing when it returns something. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Mills, you also had your microphone open.
Yeah, like I would choose sacrifice
Yes.
because
Go ahead.
first I instruct the bank to like send treasury bill every month, every 3 months into my student account. But now, as I see my budget, I need to sacrifice that money for them reinvest that money to earn me a profit. Not that always they should be sending it to my student account to be withdrawn.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And hopefully the budget sheet will allow you to continue working on it. I'm going to read Transference comment, and then we'll go to Lucretia. So she says, currently I'm sacrificing my comfort zone. There are lots of things I'm adjusting, and I'm not really comfortable so that I can save money for a personal goal that I have to achieve by January of next year. Okay. So it's a process. As long as we think about it, we are constantly thinking about it, and not just getting sucked into social media all the time, spending so much time on social media that we forget about our goals and sacrifices that we need to make. It's a process. Lucretia, you wanted to share something?
Okay, so sacrificing going out a lot frequently, eating out, and then use the money to invest to save for the future. And fortunately for me, I am not a very social media person. I don't spend my time on social media. So yeah, it really helps.
Okay, all right, very good. So I remember one time when I was doing this program for a group of high school primary students, and they were, I believe, in grade 11. And when I asked them to do the time management exercise, so I asked them to write down how much time they do on this stuff, and especially on social media. One of the students asked, she said, do you want me to add it all up together, or just like maybe in a 1 hour? I said, no, this is for your entire day. And she said, wow, that's a lot of time that I spend chatting with my friends, and this is a lot. It's like, well, exactly. That's what we're trying to bring out in here to make sure that we understand. So please continue thinking about your assets. So let's say we talked about assets, the income generating. Then we have, obviously, we need to have some cash around. They're called different things in the bank accounts. They're called deposits, or we call them checking in here. This is usually our operating, whether it's for the business or whether it's for our personal. We have to pay bills. We have to deposit money in there. Savings is usually for like emergencies or short term that we need to keep money around for emergencies. I don't know if there are places that you can actually gain 10% interest on your savings. It definitely does not exist in US. So in the chat, what is the interest? Let's hear from the friends. What is the interest rate on a savings account, typical? Just kind of curious to see. And
hello.
yes.
I found interest rates in Uganda very poor on the savings account. In fact, I was not particularly happy with after my savings. I think it's like 2% a year or something like that.
Okay.
Just no, it's not encouraging.
Okay.
I found it no. When I look at it, I may be wrong, but it is really low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because let's say for $1 million shillings, I'll get less than 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
No, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is a lot better than United States, because our interest rate for savings account, Imani, you want to tell them what it is?
Oh, 1% or less.
So if we put $100 into a savings account and don't touch it for a whole year, at the end of the year, we will have $100.01. That's how bad the United States is. But
Yes.
then, but then also the interest rate that we get will get into the loans for, let's say, if you're buying property, if you're buying a home, they were very low the last 2 years. They were as low as like even below 2%, 1.9 or something like that for 30 years, which was great. And they have just started going up. So 2%.
About 4.5 maybe.
Yeah, well, they're actually at 5% now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're over 5 for a 30-year loan. So 2%, Christian, is not that bad. It's a lot better than here. Looking at our assets, there are also assets that depreciate. They go down in value. Here in US, automobiles, cars is definitely, there used to be one of these categories that they would lose their value. So a typical car, let's say a $14,000 car, probably would go down to $11,000 in 1 year. Except the last 2 years, that because of the shortage of parts and everything, in US, the value of cars have actually gone up. This is the first time, I believe, in the history that has ever happened because of the shortage. There's a shortage of cars, but often their value do go down. Jewelry is the same thing. They usually go up. So while we have rental properties as real estate here as income generating, the place that we live in is also an asset, but often it does not generate income. If we own our own farm, our own land, a building that we do business in, so that's what that one is. And then the last area that we want to make sure in the 4 quadrants of our assets, income, expenses, and liabilities is this liabilities, where a lot of people have, it's very easy for people to begin to accumulate liabilities. Here in US, credit cards are the most common, and this is an actual interest rate on the credit cards. Credit cards in US do range from 15 to like 35% interest, and people get into trouble. So we will talk more about credit cards and things, and I think next week or the following week, that's when we're going to be talking about borrowing. And then also, so let's say I will put this here. We have a home that is worth 20. Let's say we paid 22,000 for a farm or a home or something like that. We might also have a loan on the home. So I will put that. So our home may also have, so if it's 22,000, maybe we do have a note of 10,000. So while this is a positive, this is a negative. And then as you can see, the worksheet is doing all the calculations. So it's saying that our assets, my assets is altogether 59,000. But then I do have 30,000 in liabilities and loans. So once I calculate those, I'm left with 29,000 in, this is what's known as my net worth. That means that if I were to cash out everything, if I were to sell everything that I own and pay off all my loans and everything, I will end up with 29,000, let's call it dollars. So that's the importance of this sheet. So in addition to your annual budget, we also need to keep track of this. Monthly, it doesn't necessarily need to be monthly, but at least every 3 months or so, every 3 to 6 months, we need to kind of look and see, and to make sure that this number should be on the rise, because as this number, our net worth is on the rise, that usually means that we are collecting more and more passive income that is going to support our retirement time, the next stage of life. So we don't have to rely on working physically. All right, so Imani, anything on this?
Well, I just think it's funny. I remember when we only considered automobiles liabilities, you know, because of the reduction of value so swiftly, right when you take it off the lot. And from learning that, I made sure that I really never buy a new car. You know, I buy a used car, something I can, you know, pay off in a short amount of time, and it becomes more of an asset that way because I don't have to, you know, pay on it.
Mhm.
So I didn't know this, but I'm seeing what you're saying about the parts and everything, and now the cars have value. So that's something interesting.
Yeah. Mhm. And then something that I can add, we'll share and then see what our friends have in their own countries, what they can see. In United States, it's very easy to buy a car, whether it's a brand new car or whether it's a used car. The only requirements, and most people buy them on a loan. So let's say if they're buying a $14,000 car, all they need is like $2,000 in cash. They would go to a car dealership, pick a car, especially if it's new, it's much easier. And if the person has very good credit, which we will talk about next week, they can immediately qualify for a loan. It's very easy to qualify for car loans, especially new cars when people have good credit. But then the trend has been that because of that, people feel like we need to always drive a brand new car, like every 3 years or it used to be every 2 years. I think times have changed a little bit. But now people realize that they can maybe keep their cars a little bit longer. Personally, in our family, we always keep our cars at least for 10 years, or unless if there is a really good reason to change them. Like one of the cars, we changed it before 10 years because we started having our first son and it was a small car and we couldn't put our son in there. So we ended up selling that and getting the new one. But otherwise, we have always been in the mode of driving our cars maybe for 10, 15, even 15 years because they do last that long. Yes, they're a little old. They don't have the latest technology in it, which sometimes it's a good thing. But that means that we are not constantly in debt. So in the last 5 minutes of this hour, maybe we can have our friends talk about what are some of the things that are like this in your country. In Ghana, we have only friends from Ghana and Uganda. If anybody would like to share, what is it that people are always looking at their friends or other people and they're tempted to buy what they have that gets them into financial trouble?
Okay. So I think for like young people, mostly phones, precisely iPhones.
Mhm.
So that, and then having cars, so like driving cars, and the clothes they wear, the shoes, the accessories to look nice. Yeah, that's it. It really causes people to even go and borrow money to and then lavish weddings. Yeah, that's
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Other thoughts? Christian, what's happening in Uganda?
Well, I think just like Lucia said, phones is a big thing. Sometimes the debate here is that sometimes the cost of an iPhone is the cost of a fair piece of land. So you choose whether you're buying a chunk of land or buying a phone, right? So and that said, there's the issue of holidays for people who are more affluent. Going on holidays, there's one or other of, yes, cars is one, but I think phones change more regularly, and the other one is perhaps clothing and shoes and things of that kind, especially for the ladies. So that's a big thing. Yeah, thank you.
All right. And I remember 2 years ago when we did our first series like this, it was in Ghana, and the person who was organizing the series, I did ask him, like, what are the concerns in Ghana with people just not managing their money? And he did mention, he said, because people can get personal loans from friends and family, and they also feel that every time they go to a gathering, whether it's a church every week or a wedding or a birthday party, they always feel like they have to have, for every occasion, they have to have a new attire. They need to have new clothing. So they go borrow money to buy those attires that they only use for once or maybe twice. So it is, and these are the things that is really gets us into trouble. And something that we have, I'm just going to go into. So an element that we really recommend, I haven't put it into the spreadsheet yet, but this thing that has been really helpful, and then we highly recommend this. So everyone should be running their finances as it's like a corporation, even the family finances, it's like a company. And there are certain elements that we really recommend making sure it happens. One is that there should always be one person that is responsible for the mechanics of finances, whether it's in the company or in your personal or family life. Now, this person in a corporate world is called a CFO, or a Chief Financial Officer. And this person should be organized, punctual. If the person is tech savvy, it's very helpful using different types of technology to keep track of everything that we were talking about, the assets, liabilities, and so forth. Now, if you're talking about a family situation, either one of the spouse can fill this role, but that one person should not be should feel responsible that, oh, I'm the only one who is responsible for making decisions. So the technical aspects of keeping track of finances is a lot different than the decision-making process. The decision-making process should be done by, if it's a family situation, by both partners, or if they're grown children with children involved. In a company, it should be that between the CFO and the CEO, the manager, the owner, whoever that is, and everyone should feel responsible to understand the finances, the family finances. One of the issues that we have seen here in the US is that often in a family environment, only one of the spouses is responsible for the money. Even that maybe both of them are working, but all the money comes into a deposit account. One person is responsible for paying everything, and the other spouse does not look, or the other partner does not look to see how the finances. And then after years and years and years, we've seen many situations that all of a sudden the spouse that was not looking at the finances just becomes surprised as how much debt they had, how much loans, how much credit cards, because they were just not paying attention to all those. And it should be done at least every 3 months or so. Again, one person responsible for the technical aspects, recording and paying, make sure there's always money in the deposit accounts for the different expenses. But then both, or as many partners that are involved, should be knowing what's happening. The other one that we really recommend is setting up approval limits. And this is particularly helpful for those that cannot control themselves. They have the urge, as whenever they go out, or these days just sitting on the phone and, oh, this looks good, I can buy a new pair of sunglasses, or something that I need to do. So we recommend setting up, saying that myself, it's like, let me see if I can do mine. So let's say I can say that any item that I can buy up to 50, I can make that decision by myself. I don't need to consult with anybody else. Then any items that we want to buy, and it's more than, let's say, up to 1,000, then I should consult with my partner. So even though that I have the money, we have the money in our family and everything, maybe I should consult with my partner for items between $50 to $1,000. And then for large purchases, so let's say if I want to buy a car, now anything over that, I do need to consult with a professional should I buy this car? Is this a good car to buy, or is it a good investment to make? So a professional in there. Now, this is not for our regular expenses, not for like rent and phone, things that we normally pay, but things that we buy out of normal. And it would be good to identify that person or who they are at the beginning. That's why I need to incorporate this into the worksheets, which I haven't done. So talking to somebody else, because other people may have a different point of view. So it could be your partner at home, spouse, business partner. If you're a single person, it can be a friend that you can trust. Imani, what is your thought in here?
Well, all of this kind of takes me back. It's like easier said than done. And when you're dealing with, like I'm listening, to the examples, everyone has all this new stuff. And it's like, wow, that's really hard to not have all the new stuff when everyone around you has all the new stuff. And then that goes back to being patient and content because you have a goal that you're not spending your money on a new outfit for Sunday because you're going to buy a home or you're going to buy that piece of land instead of that iPhone. And so that takes a lot of family support and acceptance of one another so that the outside world doesn't make you feel bad about wonderful, awesome, amazing choices you really are making for your family. Because I know it's hard. And even reading Transference response about getting out of your comfort zone. You really are getting out of your comfort zone when you start to budget and put limits on yourself. Because your same world is still looking at you when maybe you didn't have those, you weren't disciplined before. And so it really takes the inner support of yourself, of being content that you have a future goal and you can't care about that. And then also being more creative. So I am kind of going back a little bit, Alex, but being creative with things. I know, like me being a hairstylist, I literally bought a car because I had a client that had a car and he wanted to get rid of it. And we traded for a full year. And he just came in and he had locks, came and got his locks done once a month. And that was my car payment. And then he tipped me, so I still got money, still have a car. And he was so proud because it was his brother that had the car and he didn't want to get rid of it. Okay, I know I'm going so crazy, but he was just excited that the car ran and it ran so long. I passed the car down to my family. So, and it didn't cost me anything. So that's what keeps me okay. But everybody else was looking at that raggedy car. But I had so much comfort and just excited that look what I did though. So you're going to have to depend on your family for that support, because the world on the outside is just looking at where's your new cell phone, and you really can't worry about that. And one more thing, you're going to have to turn being responsible to being accountable so that you don't have to worry about overspending and letting your family in on what you're doing gives you that limit. Gives you that limit. And even if you do go over, having that person accountable to scoot you back in is so necessary, because for some reason, it just by my nature, and I'm assuming I'm just like most people, that it's a little hard to do things for ourselves. But when we include someone else and we're responsible for our family and our home or different things, that responsibility really allows us to be consistent and keep going forward and being disciplined. It's a lot.
Yep, exactly. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. So let's take a quick break. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll continue. So stay with us, guys. Thank you.
Nobody said anything, so I guess nobody saw it. Yeah, you go, I can see you, and they smile like, oh, you can't. Yes, I can see you. I think they hold down everything right now. They hold down everything.
All right, so let's continue our conversation. Before we move to the responsibility and accountability lesson plan, just wanted to add something. This, what I'm sharing on the screen is from our advanced level material, which is also linked. So if I go back to our worksheet, there's some reading material in there. So the ABCs of Wealth Advanced, that is this document that I'm sharing. It had the setting limits and so forth. We'll be using some material from there as well. But I wanted to share this one also, especially to what Imani said. We already talked about why we need to save, attributes of saving. It's a habit. But then also we need to prepare ourselves for criticism. Because the way people save, I mean, there are lots of different ways, but some of them may not be acceptable to others. Like what Imani said, she exchanged her services for a car, and the car may not have been the best car, but it served the purpose. It got her to the place of work and back to our house. For us, I love to set the clothes out after washing them inside in the washer. I love to just hang them outside and let them dry. We live in a place in California, Southern California, where we live, there's always the sun. And I love the smell of clothes being dry. But some people have given me a hard time. Oh, you take them out one at a time and hang them outside? It's like, no, not one at a time, but I do take them in a basket. And it's not just about saving money, it's about saving the environment. So the different things that we do, our friends will criticize us about our unique ways that we do things and we go about. So just kind of be prepared for that and don't get discouraged. Just continue, because going back to here, this is what I always love. It's like those that criticize us are those that will have to continue. Most often, they're the ones who have to continue to work in their later years because they don't have passive income. They did not save enough. They did not invest enough. They just spend money on their own, on their comfort in early years. But then my thing is that who's going to have the final laugh? Is there's going to be me or them? That's the way I look at this element of it. All right, very good. So we ask everyone to, the next two kind of lessons that go together are the responsibility and accountability. We all have responsibilities from childhood all the way through adulthood. When we do this program in school, children feel that only children have chores and responsibilities around the house. They don't see that we have them throughout our years, and often they feel like they should be paid for it. And our idea is that children should not be paid for the responsibilities around the house, things that we all have to do, whether we are a child or an adult. So let's open up your microphone, please, and share with us what responsibilities do you have as the member of your household. Could be anything. So we'll have a conversation about this and we'll see where this leads us. Mills, Ebenezer, we lost a few friends in here. What are your responsibilities as the citizens of your household? Everybody's quiet. Imani, what are some of your responsibilities? Let's start with ourselves.
I'll do the most simple one, and that is checking the mail. No one will check the mail. And that's an easy one. I like that one.
Okay. And do you do that? Do you do that on daily basis? How often do you do it?
Oh,
Okay.
daily.
Okay. Well, we don't get mail on Sunday, so
Right. So
yeah.
6 days a week,
6
Monday,
days a week. Yeah.
Monday through Saturday.
So this table works very much like the, it's another way of helping us develop the habit of tracking our activities. It works very much like our time management. It's just that there's no certain time for it. It's activities that we have to do. Ebenezer, would you like to share something? Ebenezer, would you like to share one of your responsibilities? You have your. One of my responsibilities is take the, as the French say on the other side of the world, it's take the rubbish out. And I'm talking about we have inside the house, we have small cans that we put our rubbish in there, and then we put it outside in a big can. And then once a week, there's a city truck that comes and collects the rubbish. So my responsibility, and that one, the big one, is mine, and that's Monday night, because I have to do it Monday night. Sometimes they come early Tuesday morning. Then we have responsibilities such as washing dishes. Let's see.
Laundry.
Laundry, thank you. Let's see, cooking. Somebody has to cook.
Yep.
So these are, and this is something that if you are living in a family or you have a child, they can put in there. Okay, Emanuela says I take care of my siblings. Yes. Definitely. We hear a lot of that in our classes when we do work with even young children in primary schools. Sometimes say that they do take care of their siblings. So it's for us, again, the column B stands for when we accept the responsibility. So I'm saying that on Monday nights, I have taken the responsibility for taking the rubbish out. And then next day or Monday, I can go back and say, yes, I did it. And this means that the rest of the family don't have to worry about whether I took the rubbish out or not. Because if I don't take the big can out, it will overflow. Because the truck comes only once a week. And if you have a lot of rubbish or recycle, that's the one that I usually really put out. A recycle comes in once every 2 weeks. And if I don't take it out, it gets full. We try to really recycle everything. So this table helps with our responsibilities to make sure we don't forget them. It's very helpful. What's going on in there. But I want to, the one that I really, let's concentrate on number 2 as well. When we have responsibilities, sometimes we don't understand the different elements that are involved in that responsibility. I'm going to put an example in here. Does anyone have a pet, a dog or something? Or have siblings or have children that want to have a pet or a dog? Imani, you're laughing. What's your experience? You have a few kids?
Well, we had a dog that my daughter brought home, and of course her pet became my pet, and I tried to make her pet her brother's pet. So it was a lot of work because it's a big responsibility to have a pet.
Okay. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and share with us if you have had a pet, for example, a dog, or you're thinking, or somebody wants to have one. What are the different activities or elements that a person who wants to have a pet should think about? Now just wait and see who can share with us. It's a simple exercise, but you see the importance of it.
Walking,
well, hold
feeding.
On, let's hear from our participants.
Okay.
I know everybody's muted, but I'm sure somebody will. Otherwise, I'll call on someone. Lucretia, what do you think?
I think having a pet has to do a lot of responsibilities, like having a child, because you have to take care of it. So you have to feed it, take it to the vet, walk it, have time with it, spend time, make sure it's okay. You know, it's really a lot. It's a lot of responsibilities.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for. Playing, cleaning. Dogs don't clean themselves. Let's see. Feed, wet, play, cleaning. These are all things. And this is what our children don't necessarily realize. They want, our boys wanted to have dogs, but luckily both my wife and I are allergic, so we have gotten away from getting a pet. We've always told them that you should do it when you live on your own. So that's a simple example. Now let's think about something that might have more of a financial responsibility, something that we want to have, but we don't necessarily realize all the different elements that go with it. Anybody can think about a financial responsibility that will have a lot of elements that we don't necessarily realize or think about before acquiring that financial responsibility. Any thoughts?
Well, I have a good one.
Okay.
A car versus a luxury car.
Okay.
And I know that, you know, like we talk about, you know, people are worried about what other people see. And so you might get a luxury car and you might have gotten a deal on it, but then maintenance. People don't realize the maintenance of a Mercedes has a totally different cost of the maintenance of a Toyota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think people really consider that sometimes when purchasing a car, because I definitely hear the complaints.
Yes, and that is true. That is true for most Japanese cars. Sorry, most German cars. They're a lot more expensive to maintain than the Japanese cars. That's true. I have to slowly explain stuff. From our audience, again, we are not going to do a breakout session. So if anybody would like to share a responsibility that you have taken on, but didn't realize that it's going to require so much different elements or other things that you hadn't thought about. I have one in mind. See if anybody, Christian, if your internet is good enough.
Well, I'm thinking perhaps, let's say, joining a club. If you join a club, you may, I think you're going to just come relax, but then it may pull you into so many other expenses, keeping up appearances in part, and maybe paying memberships. Maybe you've planned for that, but there may be a couple of other things, parties, things that require you to be active. So you may think you have paid for the initial to just be a member, but there's a lot more that comes with keeping up the activity. Yeah.
So
That's a good one, Christian.
yes. So what would you be joining at? What kind of a club do you have in mind? Because there are a lot of different, but this is a great example. What kind of club do you have in mind?
Well, they are first of all, let me give an example. In Kampala, there are clubhouses where you become a member, and because you become a member, your privileges you get. Sporting club, not sporting clubs per se, but a place where you can go and basically access as much as sport. I mean, any sports activity, a bar, and things like that. Yeah. Then it's like a members club. Then you may join. Let's say you join a Rotary club. Now, Rotary is into giving. And I say this because I joined Rotary. And yes, you will be specific on one or two things, but then you may be drawn into one or two other things. The other thing I also observed is I love playing tennis, but I realized that tennis is a very expensive sport in the country because you will need to cater for not only your attire, but so many other little things that come about. And you're just like, you know what, I think this is not working, right?
Yes.
So you just try and find other ways of how to make it work for yourself. Go to places which are more cumbersome or more involving. And if you have to bring someone in, you have to equip them to come in. So it can become more than you bargained for.
All right, very good. That's a great example. Yes.
Yes.
There are things that it's perfect example. We think we're going to join a club for whatever reason, but then we don't realize all the other expenses that are going to come with it just to go to that club. Because as Christian says, clubs often have a specific attire. You cannot just go in with t-shirt and a flip-flop and shorts. They do require some kind of a nice clothing in there. But then you kind of see what are the benefits versus the expenses that you have to go through. Are you getting something? The one that I had in mind is renting versus purchasing a house or a place. Let's not just this is a place. So we often, I mean, that is at least part of the American dream, as we call it, is for people to own their own home because it appreciates in value. What we pay toward owning a home is it's not lost. It gains value in there. But then often people don't necessarily recognize the different elements that goes from renting when we go from a renter to be a purchasing place. And here are some of the elements when we do it this way. So when we rent, our responsibility is usually just paying rent. The landlord is usually responsible paying rent, maybe some utilities, electricity, and then internet. So those are the ones, those are our own, what we have to pay as a renter. It's very limited. The landlord or the owner is responsible for all the maintenance, anything that breaks down. We call the owner and ask them to send someone to fix it. They pay, whether they pay for water or not, for rubbish. A lot of the responsibility, insurance for the rental property, if there are any taxes, those are all the responsibility of the owner. But when we purchase, let's say, a house, we have to think about now all of a sudden we become responsible for everything, all the responsibilities that were on the shoulder of the owner. We have to pay mortgage, electricity, internet, water, rubbish, taxes, insurance, anything. And now we cannot just ask someone else to take care of it for us. Yes, we can call maintenance and repair people. So these are the things that often people don't realize when taking on a bigger responsibility. And often it needs to be put on a spreadsheet to kind of look, because we know as a renter, we know how much our rent is, how much our electricity and internet might be. And then there are easy ways, and I don't think it really matters which part of the world we're in, we can really find out what is the cost of renting and what is going to be the cost of purchasing a house. And now that we have our annual income and expenses, we should be easily able to come here and look and see, all right, so now I'm paying only $100 for rent a month, but obviously when I purchase my place, it's going to be more. My utilities are going to be more. I have to add on some items in here. So we can even create a example of what it would look like, because now we know what is my annual income and expenses. So now I can see, can I take on this additional responsibility of owning a home, owning a house? Can I handle the extra expenses that are going to come with this? And that's another reason that our budget sheet is so important in here. And having that reserve, again, of when we're owning a home, we need to have a larger reserve as opposed to when you're renting. So that is really important for us to continue working on this and keep it up to date. And I know that I think I have mentioned this before. For some people, it's easier to give up their lives, and I'm literally saying that, than actually sitting down every month and doing their actual numbers. It's a habit that is fairly difficult to develop if you haven't done it from early ages. Even with our boys are at 20 and 21, and they have been through this program many times, and still they're struggling with this. And if we cannot do it, sometimes it makes sense for someone else to do it for us. Whether we can find a family member or a friend who's willing to do it at no cost, or if we can justify the cost for someone to keep track of our finances. Because it is a habit that not everyone really develops, no matter how hard they try. They just cannot develop this. Imani, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Is it easy, or is it
It is not easy at all. And a lot of times when we're doing a budget, you can't do the budget before you even understand what you're buying, because there are some things that are once a month. And then of course there's those things that pop up once a year, and you have to consider it. So you really have to look at your budget. I look at mine weekly and then do the overall monthly. And it's a lot of work in the sense of having that discipline. But at the same time, like I say, you definitely have to go beyond just knowing that you're responsible for it, and definitely having someone else involved. I really like what you said, Alex, about, you know, even you might have to go outside of the home and ask for someone to help you keep that budget, you know, intact. Sometimes I do my taxes and I will call my tax man more than just at the end of the year. So I can spend money. I can feel as though I need it instead of it's just something that I want. So me having a budget is allowing me to create that discipline. But sometimes like my my registration is due, and that's not a monthly payment. But the fact that I have my, you know, savings and I'm constantly doing that, it's not a stress for me. But I've done it in the past where I'm so focused on my monthly budget that I didn't take into account those annual payments like my insurance and different things. So definitely looking at it. And that's why I'm the main person that checks the mail, because I don't want to miss anything.
Yep, exactly. Okay. And then that's another reason that in the moderation, we definitely put in here managing finances is something that needs time. It also should be one of the items in here. We definitely need to allocate time, become responsible for it, and ultimately become accountable. So please do that. And for our team that's here, again, those that already completed, I know not everyone has started creating their budget in their online worksheet. If you haven't done it, please do so. We'll continue to encourage you to do it. That's one responsibility that you definitely have to take on. All right, so the last item that we're going to talk about today as part of our responsibility is responsibilities to others. This is something that it doesn't have to be financial, but we feel that, and this goes as part of leaving a legacy behind. So leaving a legacy behind is not just about how much money we leave for our children or grandchildren, but what changes did we make in our societies? What challenges did we see, or new things that we thought that it's good to have them? Some of these could lead into, there could be an invention that we create, some things that is just needs attention. I know our participants who did this exercise in their worksheets, they were very light items, but maybe we can have a discussion in here, because everyone, I'm sure, can identify some challenges that are existing in our communities. We are not living in a perfect world. Everyone can come up with something. So I'll invite everyone to open up your microphone, share with us, or even the chat if your connection is not good. What challenges are you seeing in your community, in your immediate neighborhood? We're not talking about creating world peace. That is that's kind of far out. We don't have control over it. But there are a lot of things, and we're not even talking about how we can. Let's not go there. But what is it that you see in your community that yourself, or maybe with the help of a few friends or neighbors or coworkers, we can begin to do something about it? So ideas, because we are not living in a environment by ourselves. We are living in societies. We live in neighborhoods. Anybody would like to share an item, something that you're seeing in your community that you would like to? Christian says cleanup activity, cutting the grass routinely. Okay, are you talking about, Christian, grass in your house, in your parks? Where are we talking about this grass? I'll just put that in here, because there are grass that are the responsibility of, let's say, the city where we live in. I stay in the flat area. Okay. All right. So where the complex where you live in, the environment. Okay. All right. So that's one. Other thoughts from anybody else? I don't think I missed anything. Imani, what do we see around here? So we can put some example in here. What do we see in our societies that
Well,
there's a lot? You and I are always talking about it, but share one.
well, I really like Christians as far as trash, and then like what you were just saying about the city. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to the city council on Monday to speak up for residents because, and just like you talked about taking your rubbish out, we call it trash, but our trash bins go out on or get picked up on Wednesday. So everyone puts theirs out on Tuesday. And guess when our street sweeper comes? On Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So he's getting paid by the city, our tax dollars, to not clean our street. He's just driving down in the middle of the street because everyone has their trash bins out. So that's a major issue for us, our small little community. So we're going to go down to the city council on Monday and give them a piece of our mind.
But that's something that's a simple thing that you think the city will, because city is responsible for both activities. It's not like there are two different agencies.
Well, you know, and that's a thing because they contract out, and they're and just like we said, where is the accountability? You know, the city's responsible for this, but they contracted out. So now they're not, so whoever they contract out to, they're not making them accountable to doing their job. And I'm pretty sure they're getting paid because they wouldn't come at all, right?
Yep, exactly. Some of the other challenges from previous groups that we've had is, and this seems to be a global issue, is our youth not having a direction in life or getting distracted with other things. Please let us know if this is a concern in your community. Youth, I think somebody, because I think still our communities feel that youth, our children are just too young to be thinking about challenges or things, and they should just be playing, maybe going to school and having their fun time. But working directly with children and youth in schools, especially when we do this exercise, it is amazing that how many challenges they come up with. Some of them are the same thing: clean up, trash, maybe graffiti. Then depending on what neighborhood we are presenting this lesson plan in, it goes even deeper than that. Problems such as gang, drugs, those kinds of stuff do come up. One of the problems that it's very dear to my heart is our education, not necessarily our education system, because I know I cannot do much about it, but in general, the way our children and our youth are being educated in schools. Because we are in schools during the day, and when we ask our participants, our students, to do these activities, they have to write. Here I'm writing, but then in schools, they have to write their own. And it's just alarming. And you would think that living in the United States, all children are receiving the adequate education that they need to be able to read, write, and do math at a professional level. But unfortunately, in some neighborhoods, it does not exist. When we do this program, even for like students in grade 5 and 6, they're still having difficulty writing complete sentences or spelling things correctly. So that's one that it's been dear to my heart. Haven't found a solution for it yet. We've thought about a few things. One of the ideas is to organize community members to support schools, because we know that schools are strapped. Their resources is very tight. They don't have all the financial help that they need. So often the classroom size are not big, but even small classroom size, the students are not, they don't have the support at home. That's what we notice is missing. The schools provide the same education, it's unified. They provide the same education. But then the support that's needed at home is not there for the parents to continue to work with the young ones to make sure that they develop these writing habits or reading habits. So that's something that I've been all thinking about. Any other one? Lucretia, anything you'd like to share? What are some of the challenges in your area?
Well, the challenges in my area are people litter a lot. They don't put like they don't trash the rubbish. They don't put their rubbish in the dustbin. So that you see it around the environment a lot. So yeah, that's a challenge. And then some of them even end up putting them in the drainage systems, which causes huge problems later on.
Very good, thank you. So yeah, the environment, that's the other one. We'll talk more about it. Environment is another one of the challenges that I see, which I believe we can do so much. There are certain things that we can do so easily. And unfortunately, our societies have gotten used to just doing things using single-use items, such as plastic stuff or cups, and for a matter of convenience. So that's something that we'll talk more about it in the coming weeks. All right, okay. So this is on the responsibility lesson. If you haven't completed these assignments, please do. And if you have noticed, as you complete your assignments in your worksheet, once it's complete, I do go in there and change the color into a green. So if you see the tabs, so as you complete your assignments, I do, so any tab that has a green color means that it's complete. If it has a yellow color, it means that it's incomplete. You started it and it's incomplete, except the annual budget. I think on the annual budget, I did put a yellow on it for those that started it. That one is okay because you've done great. You started it, and then the actual numbers we'll put in there early next month. And then if there is something that has a red color, that means that it's past due. You were supposed to finish it and you haven't completed it yet. That's what the red color. So those are the different three colors that you would see in your tabs. So let's talk about next week, what we're going to be talking about. Next week, we'll continue on, we won't do too much on accountability, but basically responsibility and accountability, in addition to everything that we talked about, are bases of our borrowing system. So next week, we'll be talking about credit and borrowing. Why is it important? How do we build credit so we can borrow? Do we have to borrow, or can we do without borrowing? But then before anyone borrows, which our idea of borrowing is mainly to make advancement. This is what we will see, that we should only borrow things that would help us advance in life, not just for life necessities. But before we borrow, whether we're borrowing from a bank, from a friend, from somebody, we need to become responsible and accountable. So the place or the person who's lending us, let's say it can be even a book, it doesn't have to be money. They can be comfortable that we're going to return that item to them. So this exercise, you can actually do it. It's a good exercise. It's following this, what we started here, challenges and solutions in our community. Here we're asking for you to list out, look at your own community and think about the places and resources that are available for each one of these items. So for nutrition, if are there enough supermarkets to purchase good, healthy food? Or are there farms nearby that we can buy fresh from farms? So it's just kind of becoming aware of our surrounding and see what's there and what's not there. As far as shelter, if there are flats if there are enough affordable flats or houses for us to purchase in. If not, you can write in there, well, that's something that is not available. So for clothing stores, our physical health system, there's enough medical locations, doctors, hospitals, and things to go. Same thing in here, houses of worship, whether they're churches, synagogues, mosques, and we need to, as always, we need to be respectful of all different religions and their ideas. Is our education, is the education in your community, is that sufficient, or is it missing something? Are rules and laws, governments, are they creating, we may not have too much say in this, but at least we can voice our opinion that the laws that are being said are not really serving the community, so forth. Houses of finances, banks, if there are other institutions, here in the US, we have two other institutions that help us with finances. One of them works very much like banks. We'll talk more about that. But then there are also places that are predatory. They prey on people, especially those that cannot manage their finances. They're called payday loans. So basically the way they work, they put a hold on your payment from the work. They give you the money earlier, but they usually take a big chunk out of it, sometimes up to like 30% for giving you the money ahead of time. So that's why it's very important for us to, again, learn how to manage our finances. Then down below, kind of same thing as the challenges in our community. These that necessarily doesn't have to be challenges. These could be things that are missing in our community. For example, if there's not enough parks, or I don't know, what something else.
Hospital.
A hospital. Not that we can go and build a hospital, but at least we become aware of it. When we do this with children in school, we usually talk about park or like a skate park, some place that they can go and have clean fun. And then we talk about what would it take for us to come together as a community and to bring these into our community. So the goal is for everyone to become responsible and then also accountable, not only for ourselves, for our family, for our business, but also for our community. That's the goal of these. And then in the borrowing sections, I kind of think about what are some of the advancements. So these are the assignments for next week, the accountability. Think about what advancements do you think you'd like to make? Again, whether it's your education, your spiritual advancements, your business advancements, and what are the things that you need to borrow? And it doesn't necessarily have to be money. You may need to borrow a book to learn about the new skill or trade. Who would you borrow that, and what would be the compensation? It might be nothing. If you borrow a book from a library or from a friend, you don't have to pay anything back. But a collateral, if we borrow something, often the lender wants us to give them something just as valuable to us, to them, to hold on until we return the item. So complete these assignments. From these two lessons from responsibility, there are videos. So if you see, there are short, about 4 or 5 minute videos that you can watch. I will also put these assignments into our group chat. These are great videos. They show some kind of a challenge or something that somebody has started to work on. Responsibility has one, and then also accountability has a video. Again, they're very short that you can watch. And I think they're usually great. There are, of course, there's a lot of other types of videos in YouTube. Lucretia, you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, just I just need a clarification for the assignment. So the existing community essentials, the goal there, how should we go about it?
So the goal is, it's like, what would you like your community to do? How would is our community growing? Is it improving? You can come up with like, we would like to have a flourishing community, community that's known for certain things, a community that's known for hospitality, or if you have a lot of cultural things, you could have tourists coming. So it's overall, it's kind of like growth, but just kind of think about it. And these are exercises that really encourage you to do with friends, not just doing them alone. So that's going to be the goal for the community. I hope that makes sense. Imani, can you add anything in there? Something?
No.
No, that's good. Okay. Yeah, it's mostly about understanding what we have and what's missing, and then what are we going to do about it. And the video.
Oh, I do have something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you look at what's needed in your community, it's like what you said, like what you have passion for or what kind of annoys you in your neighborhood. So just and figuring out like all of these items here, where do you go or where does your family go to get these services and resources for your community building?
So, for example, for us here in the States, in every neighborhood, there are usually plenty of supermarkets. But because we're living in bigger cities, access to like farms is limited. So, and getting supporting people that do bring in their farm fresh produce, fruits and vegetables and things is limited. So, what some of the communities do, but they have created like farmers markets, which is like once a week, people that have farms nearby communities, they can bring their stuff in and sell them to in the cities, in the bigger cities. So that's one of the things, one of the examples. All right, being mindful of time. So for next week, the first hour we'll concentrate on borrowing and credit, and the fact that we need to become responsible and accountable. And then the second hour, we'll be doing thankful and respect. These two have, the activities are assignments are fairly explained in here. What am I thankful for? There are many things that we are thankful for. And they don't have to be necessarily material. It could be being alive, family, children, parents, God, whatever we have. And then being able to, so I'm just going to put one example in here. Food is something that we must have. If you don't have food, you're going to die. I'll put another example. Social media. Yeah, I think we can live without. Or at least limited. I don't know. Yeah, it's limited. We can definitely live, maybe not totally live without, but at least it's not a life essential. No. And there are things that are absolutely unnecessary. I'm not going to reveal what it is, but kind of think about what are the things in our lives that we can definitely live without. We have become accustomed to them so much that it's just there and we use them. But and they're very harmful to our environment. But if we pay attention, we can identify them as something that's absolutely unnecessary. This one has a video, and also respect is a kind of a follow-up to thankfulness. Is what do I respect? I'll put the same thing in here, food. And the way I should respect is not waste. And this is something that we see a lot. People, even now that there is a shortage of food, it seems like we're going to have a shortage of food all over the world. That people just don't pay attention, and still they continue their own ways of going about and not eating everything that they put on their plate. So that's just an example. What is wasted, how is wasted, and then what can we do to stop the waste? So I'm going to stop here for the last 3 minutes of the session today. Let's see if anybody has any question. Imani, any last thoughts?
I can't think of anything. The budget is definitely a challenge, but I actually am getting to the point where I'm enjoying kind of looking at my budget, especially when I'm making progress with my savings.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we cannot overemphasize the need for having the budget. It's absolutely essential. And for our family, we have them since we were married. We've been married for 27 years. I can even go back 27 years ago and see how much money we were spending on food. Not that I do that unless if I get really bored and have nothing better to do. But it just, we can see how our family has grown, what changes we have made throughout the years. That's not just something I like to do. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Please continue working on your assignments. They're very important. Great job to those who have completed their assignments up to date. And we will see you next week.
Yes. Thank you.